We are now talking to Texas football punter recruit Isaac Pearson. What's going on, Isaac?
How you doing, guys?
We are good, my friend. How are you feeling right now? How are you and your family doing with this pandemic?
Yeah, we're pretty well untouched here at the moment. We're very lucky in that fact. I'm back home in my hometown at the moment with my family, and we're still participating in normal life. Everyone's going to work. We're just keeping our social distancing intact.
As you guys know, if you don't know who Isaac is, he is the punter of the Texas Longhorns football team and might not have a football season this year. We have no idea what's going on. What are your thoughts right now with the NCAA and the fact that there might not be a college football season?
Yeah, obviously it's disappointing. I'd really like to watch some of my mates over there that are playing college ball for their respective teams, but at the end of the day, whatever's going to get everyone, to go home to their families in the safest way possible. I think that's the most important part at this point in time.
So you grew up in Australia. You live there now. You were telling me it's 6:30, almost 6:30 in the morning over there. So Australia, not really known for football. I mean, it's a big rugby country. They're big with basketball. They're big with swimming. A lot of other sports like that. So how did you get attracted to football? Like, what made you have the desire to watch football and play football? Was it inherited from other sports like the kicking skills, anything like that? How did you get into that?
Yeah, so it's not really a traditional pathway over here at all. We play Australian rules football growing up, which is not quite rugby. We will move the ball by kicking it like a quarterback will pass to their receivers. I was playing that for 14 years growing up as a kid, and then it got to a point where I wanted to see the world and study, and I felt like my sporting days were still ahead of me. I heard wind of this opportunity down with the Pro Kick Australia crew in Melbourne to go and train and play college football and get an education. So I thought that was a no-brainer and just an incredible opportunity. So I chased that chased that blindly, and here we are.
We are talking to Texas football punter recruit Isaac Pearson. Now, Isaac, punting. I don't know what pushes somebody to punt a ball. A lot of people think it's probably the most boring position when it comes to football, but it is a very important aspect of what special teams is, and moving forward into the NFL, I think if you have a good punter, you have a very good chance of putting a team in position where they don't want to be. So what made you decide, obviously you played soccer, you played rugby over there in Australia, which is very, very popular over there in Australia. What made you decide to be a punter when I've seen a lot of rugby players come into the NFL as wide receivers, or cornerbacks? What made you play the punter position? Are you a better kicker? Are you just more athletically sound as a kicker? I don't. What made you want to be a punter?
It's a bit left field, but over here in our traditional sport, we kick all the time. So instead of going out with our dads in the backyard and throwing a baseball to each other, we'll go out and kick a footy. So that's second nature to us. We're doing that as soon as we can, walk and talk pretty much. I've been kicking a football for as long as I can remember. And to me, that's just the most fun thing that I can do. In our sport back here, we're used to running, 8 to 10 miles a game and tackling everyone without any pads. And, it's full contact. So it's not a question of, not being athletic enough. I think that it's just the most fun thing that I could possibly do with my time. Everyone else thinks it's boring, but it's an obsession for me.
In terms of football exposure in Australia, but whether it's the college level or the NFL level, what was the methods that you had in order to watch football? Did you have a favorite team that was an American team, or was it strictly Australian rules football that got you into that? And then also, how did that lead you to want to play American college football? And again, you ended up with a big team, a big name team in Texas, a Power 5 conference. How did you get involved with all that, knowing those kinds of restrictions?
Yeah, it's not really broadcast over here too often. So we'll get the top Sunday Arvo game on our Monday morning at like 6 a.m. So before work, or if I was finishing my night shift, I'd get wind of the score and hopefully be able to watch it. And then I found out that there was a few Aussies over there punting in the NFL at the time. Did my research into where they came from, and then got in touch with the Pro Kick Academy in Melbourne, And then it was a matter of time for some of my friends that I was training with were playing at their own colleges, like University of Oregon, Texas A&M, Florida Gators. The list goes on. Wherever we've placed guys, it's a pretty tight knit group. So I've just been keeping in touch with those guys and following their progress along the way. And now, I mean, back when I was first falling in love with the sport, I did, sort of latched on to the University of Texas, and I started watching all their games on an early Sunday morning, and it's a bit of a dream come true to be, a Texas Longhorns commit.
Now, the punting position, and the Jets drafted a punter in the 7th round, one of the best punters we've seen in college football in a very, very long time. When you look at the position that you play and the opportunities that you have over there in Texas in the future, do you see yourself as a future NFL player? Do you think that you have the talents to get yourself to the NFL?
Yeah, I think that 90% of the guys have got a ball, a punt big enough to play in the NFL. It's whether they're consistent enough. So I've got to work at my consistency and just fine tune my craft over the next 4.5 years at Texas. And if I do things correctly and fulfill my role for the team in line with my coach's views, then things like accolades and going to the pros, that sort of stuff should take care of itself. It's not really a focus at this point in time. I just want to do my best for the Longhorns.
So you like full contact sports. You like rugby. Australia is known for their rugby. I love rugby too. I played a little rugby, whatever you want to call it, but rugby. I almost called it rugby, but rugby, rugby when I was in college. So I played recreational rugby. Mm-hmm. It's very, it's full contact. It's just as dangerous playing rugby as it is in the NFL and playing college football. When you look at the speed of the game, the size of some of these players in college football and the NFL, are you surprised that some of these guys at 356 pounds could run a 40 in about 4.7, 4.6? Or are you not surprised because you get the opportunity to watch this every single day with some of these rugby players?
Yeah, quite honestly, it's still so surprising to see these guys, at such incredible builds, and they're moving so fast and they've got so much power. It's not the athlete that we're used to seeing over here in Australia, where typically our sports are a lot more endurance based. There's not a lot of explosiveness. These guys are man mountains and moving that quickly. It's impressive to behold. I'm really lucky that I'm in a position that hopefully won't get anywhere near those guys for a long while.
Both with Australian rules football, both with concepts and with rules, what are some of the big differences between that and college football or just American football in general that you've studied?
Yeah, it's really a sport of its own. So we haven't got it's 18 people each team. So there's 36 people on the field at any time. And the ball will compared to aerial ping pong, they call it over here. So the ball will fly any which direction. There's no offsides. There's no fumbles or anything. It's just live play pretty much the entire time. So you've got to move it by kicking the ball or punching the ball to your teammate to move it up the field and kick it through the two uprights in the middle. They are worth 6 points. And if you miss and kick it through an upright either side of those two, it's worth 1 point. So it's typically very high scoring. A normal game will be 100 points to 80 points sort of thing. That's a fairly common thing. These guys, like I said, are running 8 to 10 miles a game, sometimes more, and tackling anywhere from 5 to 10 times, like one-on-one tackles. So it's really quite a taxing game. But it's such excitement the whole way through that it's non-stop action for 2 hours.
What is it like getting a phone call from the Texas Longhorns saying that they want you to come and play football with them and be a part of their NCAA football team? What was it like getting that phone call and asking you to come down and check out the school?
Yeah, quite honestly, I was in tears. So my coach, I was in the gym, and my coach brought over the phone and that the contact across the top was Tom Herman, and I had to sort of pinch myself. And when he spoke the words like, "We'd like to offer you a scholarship to come and play football at Austin," I was in tears. It was quarter past 6 in the morning, and it was pitch black outside, and I was jumping for joy in the car park of the local gym. It was something I'll never forget. I was lucky to have some of my close mates around me in the gym, and was really quite emotional. I was down in Melbourne at the time, so I called up my mum and dad back in my hometown at 6 in the morning on a Saturday, and told them the great news. And it's been a life-changing experience. I'm just incredibly lucky to be a Longhorn, that's for sure.